I personally, just a little tip, I like to put a golf ball on the other end, just a golf ball with a hole in it. I get a lot more force and my fingers don't get tired trying to pinch this. I got room, if I'm gonna spike in or helicopter in, I got room in my pack for this. I don't need jigs though, I don't have any jigs. Because they slow you down, they don't work. You don't need a jig. This is all you need if you know what you're doing, right? So the kit, this is the kit, and if you brought me that, I'd say you pass. If you guys are missing that, so they didn't give you what you need, okay? They just didn't give you what you need. Except a scrunch. Look, you have a scrunch and you had the file, but you don't have a flat file to get the rakers right, and you don't have a raker gauge to keep that true. So you eval your kit, just like that. Okay, you passed on that one. What did I just do? I looked down, I saw the edge was pretty sharp. I checked the tension, it's not too, a lot of guys running there, it's way too tight. It's a bad idea. And I checked your ram. I can check it just by pulling your chain. It's pulling free. Let me see this one. Yeah, that feels good. That feels good. And this one looks dull, just like that. Can you tell how I know which one's sharp and which one's dull? Look at them. This one has a clean, crisp edge across the front of that cutting plate. You can see it and you can see the point in the front, right? It's sharp. I can look down and see. Yeah, it looks sharp. This one I look down and the edge is shiny across here and it's rounded over, it's dull. When we sharpen it, that whole part will come off. We'll move it back that far. Does that make sense? And they go, all right, take that saw and go cut that tree. If you pick it up and it's dull, you just fail. You just fail. You should be able to look and go, where's your file? That's the next step, right? We don't cut with a dull saw. You gotta have an edge. So you can tell just by looking at it. Now normally, I'm just gonna talk you through this next part. Normally, I make you take this off so I can watch you put it back on and so that we can visibly see the rim. I told you your rims are okay because I can feel it. But the rim is this round ring of how the horsepower gets from the engine out onto your chain. There's a little rim in there. Can you see that? That's how the chain picks up its power. When they're worn, they're sunken like this and they got to get replaced. And I can feel that wear because it feels clicky when I pull the chain. That's how I'm feeling for. You'll find it one day. You'll grab a saw and it just feels clicky. Well, the click is this rim and it's shot. And I've seen them shoot all the way in two. You got to change the rim. This little bit of math change here from this to this is very significant because all that power is hopping through right there. Same rims, the same ones on the big saws. It's the same part. They don't have bigger ones. They have higher geared ones. So the rims are really important that you're checking your rim, and you can check it just by pulling the chain, just zipping the chain. When you take the bar off and you're putting it back on, there's a right way to put it on. And I usually let you guys try it. It takes a little longer. But what most guys do wrong is they try to hold the bar up like this and try to put the chain over it and try to hold it together and then try to get it mounted on the saw. Well, you're squeezing a sharp chain with both hands and it just doesn't work. It's not the way to do it is set the saw down like this, hang the bar on it, let go. It's just the bar's barely hanging there, but it's hanging there, right? And then lay the chain from the back across the front, and if you're having trouble getting it over the front, just kick it off so you get to put it on, pull it back out. You see what I'm saying? Is everybody understanding what I'm saying? Yeah. And now the chain is on there. I can let go and take a phone call, and I'm not. Put the cover on, put the nuts on, and now the other part is, and we wanted to flip the bar every time we took it off. You flip this bar every time it's off and use both sides. You're having a lot of trouble cutting swoops and you think you're sharp, flip the bar. You got a good side ready to go. The tip has to be up when you tighten the chain and when you tighten these nuts. There's a little play in this. The tip has to be in the up position when you tighten it and when you tighten these nuts. So let's say the tip is up and we're tightening it. We might have had to make it loose to get it on or whatever. We're tightening it and this chain is down here. It's loose enough, just imagine with me that the chain is hanging down here and I'm tightening it until it just kisses the bottom of the bar. As soon as these rivet straps just barely touch the bottom of the bar, you kissed the bottom of the bar, then turn these nuts down, still holding the tip up. That's where it needs to be. You guys know why the tip has to be up. If I teach you why, you'll remember to do it. You see these lines they put across the saw and painted black?
Yeah.
What are those?
Sight
lines.
Yeah.
So what are they sighting? They're sighting 90 degrees to what? The bottom of the bar when it's in the up position. So if it's not up, your sights are off, you just hit the captain's truck. When you cut it just right, but your sights were off. Right? So it's really important, and it's not your saw, you might even want to check it, make sure before you gun it right. The 200-foot tree, it's bad. I'm telling you, your sights are off. So remember I told you that if I told you why, you would remember what to do. The tip has to be up. It's very, very important. And it's not close to the saw or the horsepower or kicking it up. It's got a really significant reason why we want the tip up. Nowadays, there's not as much play. You know, the older, bigger saws have a lot of play. But your target and gunning it 90 degrees, you could lay a framing square on that and see that I'm right. It's only 90 when it's in the up. There's a million ways to hold the thing still. I don't care how you hold it still. You're not gonna have a trailer with a vise out there. I'll bring it up if you want finer points and show you there, but you can put it anywhere you want to hold this thing still. But if you got nothing, you're on the line, right? And you got nothing, and I'm getting to be an old man, but you can throw your chaps on here. Imagine I just folded my chaps and threw them on there, right? I can lay this on here and hold it still, and both my arms are ready to go. See this? I don't really need anything. You see how hard I'm pushing? Did you see that? Now this one's already sharp. So imagine it was dull. You can't see my force, but it's not down. My force is this way. I'm pulling it towards, I'm trying to move this edge back this way. All my force, 100%, is this way. And it should only take two or three like that. See all the metal that falls out? You hear it grinding? And as I'm going, I'm gonna have to tap this out and keep it clean or wipe it on my pants or something. It's called carding the file. But I'm gonna do each one. I don't care about numbers of strokes. And you can roll it either way. I'm not even paying attention to which way I'm twisting it, but you're using the file up when you're rolling the file and you're getting clean spots of the file. Simple. Again, there's a million ways. You can put it on the back of your truck and let this hit the side. You can do it however you want, but it's gotta hold still because I'm gonna push really hard. And the way I just showed it, I'm right here close to the engine because that's the close. If I push way out here, I got no leverage to hold it still. So I use my body weight on that to just go for, and then I go this way, same thing. Make kind of sense? I know that went by fast. So just a little practice, really grind it. You're filing it back. File it back. I can't do that like this. Look at me. Even if you hold the saw, nothing's happening. Can you see this? I'm gonna be here all day trying to get that filed. You gotta cut the metal back. Kind of the visual help. When you're first learning, you're gonna err one way or another. You're gonna actually be putting your force too far down, and you're gonna get a edge that's beaked over, or you're gonna pull up too hard, and you're gonna end up with a shape like this. And if you study the shape of the chain now, you can see it's just got a nice curve to it. There's just a nice curve. You see it? And I'm trying to move this edge that way to clean metal. Really, it's simple. And if you're cutting brush on line and you have an edge, you can cut. It doesn't matter if it was equal strokes or the angle's a little off. It doesn't matter. As long as there's an edge on each tooth, you're gonna cut line. Does that make sense? And then on this kind of chain, it's got to be all the way to that little point. The point does most of the work on this kind of chain. If you got it all sharp across there, but there's still no point on the end, you can feel the ones I sharpen, and they're sharper than new right now. They're very sharp. On the semi-chisel, it's the same idea, but it's a little harder to see. All the way to the front of that, where that curve, little micro curve is. And then the last thing that you gotta hear about is, a little bit, I'll sit in my chair a little bit more comfortable, is the depth gauges, the rakers. So now we're imagining that all these are very sharp But every time we do that and move it back, move this line back, look at where it's going. It's going downhill, right? We're lowering where this edge is hitting the wood. And there's a mathematical gap between that height and this bump. So as I move back and it's down, it's lower, I got to bring this down. I got to cut some of this off to match that height. You see what I'm saying? Critical. So a faller's going to call that hungry. Is my saw hungry, or your saw's not hungry? Not hungry means this gap is too skinny, and too hungry means you got too much gap. And that depends on what you're cutting. Cutting big ass trees, you want it nice and smooth. If you're just limbing, bumping knots at the landing, you want a bigger gap, because the saw will do that. Is that part making sense? So now I'm going to tell you about my way of using this tool to set that gap. And there's a picture of trying to show you what we're talking about. The gap is the height of this cutting edge towards the front of that bump. Does that make sense? So the way that we're going to do that is with a gauge. And they make them in lots of different numbers depending on what you're guys. I just see it done wrong all the time, and this is going to help you to see it and hear it done right. Think of this as a feeler gauge, not a file gauge. If it was a file gauge, we'd set it on here and file across it. Well, you're going to file the tool. That's not how you use this. You see it done wrong all over, I promise. Use it as a feeler gauge, set it on here. You got to play with it, make sure it's hitting in this flat spot, and it's right where you want it to be. Now feel it like this. Yours is fine. There's enough gap. There's enough. It's not sticking up. Okay. But if I'm going to cheat, if I put this on there and I feel it clicking, how can I demonstrate that? I thought if I raised it back here, it would do it. Hear it clicking? That means it's too high. If it was right there clicking, it's too high. I'm simulating it by coming up here, lifting the back end, and I feel it clicking. I don't want that click. I want to file that click off to give me my gap. This is simple. So what I would do if I was clicking, do not, it's okay, because it's not going to hurt the pain to do one of them. There's only one side at a time. I filed all these from this side. I filed all these from this side. Same with the raker file. It won't do this one. It won't file the ones on that side of the saw from this side. Hear it, listen to it. It just chirps. It's not really filing. But listen to this. You hear how it was different? So it does matter which side you're on. Put it on here, and remember, this one was clicking. We're going to say it was clicking. Just give it a push down, file it, and give it about a half swipe on your file. Just only a half swipe. And then recheck. No click, I'm good. If it's still clicking, then maybe another half swipe. So now I know how much I need to take down each of these. I throw this back in the kit and I wipe them all, either that half or a full stroke. I used it as a finder gauge, right? It's finding what do I need to do to all these, and then just do them all the same. That's how you use this tool, and it always stays nice and it doesn't way too tight. And the rims are usually shot when we tear them out. Their rims are shot. Your rims are good, so we didn't tear them out. That's my class that I call the cutting edge. And did you guys learn anything?